welcome back. Joining me to talk about economic issues in Nigeria this morning is Nick Agule. You're welcome to Global Morning, Nick. Good morning, Nick. You're welcome to Global Morning.
Good morning, good morning, sir. And good morning to our viewers globally.
All right, thank you so much for honoring our invitation. Now, let's delve into the conversation. First, people say that the Nigerian economy have seen a very tremendous growth from where it was to where we are right now due to the subsidy removal and other policies of the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration. But so far, so good. How will you assess the economic policy of the president?
Thank you very much for the question. I think those who say that the economy has improved tremendously since the implementation of the current administration's economic policies has started need to put the evidence forward. It's not just about saying the economy has improved. We are Nigerians, we're in Nigeria. We know it when the economy has improved because we feel it. And if we need someone to tell us that it is actually improving, then they need to say these are the areas where it is improving. For instance, if I'm a Nigerian and I was buying petrol at less than 200, and now I am buying petrol close to 1,000 naira, and you tell me that the economy is improving, you have to tell me how that's improving, because I am still buying petrol at nearly 1,000 naira, right? I'm still paying for electricity at the higher band A, whatever. The dollar is still 1,500, 1,600 from the 460 it was by 29th of May 2023. You see? So, and you know, why we talk about petrol, we talk about dollar, is that it affects the cost of goods and services that we buy. So for people who are transporting themselves to work, for instance, if their transport to work was 250, coming back 250, which was 500 naira, but now it is 2,000 to go, 2,000 to come back, 4,000 naira. I wonder how they will agree that the economy has improved when they are still paying 4,000 naira to go to work. When they are still paying high cost of electricity. And the exchange rate impact is that anything that is imported is going to be more expensive. So, for instance, someone who is suffering a long-term ailment, when the dollar was 460 to a naira, and the drugs that they buy cost them 2,000 naira. And because the dollar is now 1,500, 1,600, that imported drug now needs 10,000 naira from them. They are still buying the drugs at 10,000. So how would you tell them the economy is improving? Those who use electricity, we used to experience power cuts, and there's still power cuts. So you see, the point here is that the president took very major decisions, which elevated on their own can be seen to be good for the benefit of the economy. But he has so far not taken steps to make things to work. And what I mean here is that for you to carry out a surgical operation on a human body, you can't just take the knife and start tearing the person apart. There is what medical community says is an anesthesia. The anesthesia is what you apply to the body so that when you are doing the surgical operation, the body will feel less pain. So the president's economic policies are like cutting open someone's body to carry out a surgery to save the person, but there's no anesthesia that is being applied. And you know what? If doctors are like opening the womb or a man's stomach to carry a surgical operation without applying anesthesia, even though there are good intentions of trying to save the person's life, will lead to catastrophe because the person will most likely die. Without anesthesia, the pain will be too much, so they'll go into shock and die. And for me, this is how President Tinubu's economic policies are affecting Nigerians. As good as they sound, as good as they look, as good as they are, the president is failing to apply anesthesia. If you give me a minute or more, I can explain what that means. So let's take, for instance, the petrol price. So the president inherited petrol price of less than 200 naira a liter, upon which subsidy was being paid. He now says subsidy is gone. So that took petrol price overnight to 500 naira, 700, 800 to 1,000 naira, where it is now. So what is the anesthesia that the president should be applying? Because this hike in petrol price has caused untold damage on workers' incomes in terms of the higher cost of transportation that they are paying now. The president needed to find a way to deal with the high cost of transportation for the workers. For instance, he has promised over and over again that he's going to bring CNG buses. I wonder how many workers are enjoying CNG buses to their places of work and paying maybe half of what they are now paying as transportation costs. That's an anesthesia. Is it there? You know, food cost is very expensive now because we are importing a lot of food into Nigeria, and workers are now finding it difficult to feed their children because how much was a bag of rice when the president took over, and how much is a bag of rice now? What has the president done to to boost food supply in Nigeria, food production? How many places has the president ordered the security to clear away the bandits and return the farmers to their farms, give them machines so that they can produce a lot of food for Nigerians? That's not happening, and
But
people are
but
just
but but
sleeping.
Nick,
Yeah.
I know you agree to a very large extent that the president also inherited a hailing economy. Also, what although the economy that he inherited was not that balanced, but what we've seen so far is that the president was able to liberalize the exchange rate, and thereby leading to the depreciation of the naira. We saw the naira rose up to 1,500, but naira right now is coming down. Can't can't we say at this point that this is the right step in the right direction, and the president has taken a very lucrative step in enhancing the economy so far?
You say the naira is coming down. To what rate? I don't
Well,
think the
the
naira
last exchange rate, we know that about the naira reduced to about 1,400 as against what it was before now. So that is a good. It's depreciated.
I have not seen Naira at 1,400, and I need evidence to that because even as at last week, the Naira was 1,600 because given the tariffs policy of the American government, it started impacting on the Naira. So the Naira started going up. It was almost trying to touch 1,700 before the central bank intervened in the market. And when the central bank intervened in the market, the naira, appreciated to 1.6. Naira, but the data is there. Nigerians can view that data by themselves. But there's something we need to talk about. So when this current government came into power in 2023, there are a number of subsidies that Nigerians were enjoying and for which government was spending money to fund. Agreed that there were criminality with those subsidies. So this government now removed those subsidies. And specifically, what are the subsidies? Number one, there was subsidy on petrol, which government was paying. They removed it. Number two, there was subsidy on electricity, which Nigerians were paying. The government said they reduced it. Number three, there was subsidy on foreign exchange, the one we're talking about. Again, the government removed it. So it was now expected that since this government has removed all these subsidies and they are no longer paying these subsidies, the government will now have a lot of money, which they can now channel into developmental efforts like healthcare, education, public transportation, security, and all of that. But you know what? This government is borrowing more money than the previous government. So we need to ask the question, okay, you guys are not paying these subsidies. You expected to have a lot more money now. Why are you therefore now borrowing money at this level? I mean, these are the questions that the government needs to come forward and tell us. You know, what the government is doing, we are the account holders, right? We own the accounts of government. Nigerians, it's like a bank refusing to show us what is happening in our bank accounts. Let the government come forward with numbers and say, look, we saved X trillions from petrol subsidies. We saved X trillions from foreign exchange subsidies. We saved so billions from electricity subsidy. This is where we put the money. We are not seeing that, and rather the government is borrowing heavily. So it is very debatable to see where the economic policies are impacting on the everyday Nigerian. Those of us who are on the street, where exactly are we benefiting in these economic policies? That is the question that the government will need to answer. And if they tell us and they say, oh, you are enjoying lower cost of food, you are enjoying lower cost of transportation, you are enjoying lower electricity, you are now enjoying better healthcare, your children are going to better schools, we have this plan to boost electricity supply, we have awarded this contract to construct railways so that you can go to work with trains, which is cheaper and all of that. At least if they point us to that, we'll say, okay, we didn't see, but we can see the projects that are coming up. So it's quite debatable to see where the supply side of the economy is happening. Because see, what's happening here is that the government is doing these policies on the demand side of the economy, but they have to complement it with policies on the supply side. For instance, if you make foreign exchange, if you make the naira to collapse from 460 to 1,500, you have to take steps to ensure that you are now producing locally. You are not depending on import, because if you depend on imports, the imports will be expensive for your people. But if you produce locally, then of course you won't depend on the dollar, so things will be better. For instance, look at petrol now. What has the government done to Nigeria's four refineries since you remove petrol subsidy? I expected that on the day that the president made the statement that petrol subsidy is gone, on that same day he will say that I am handing over Nigeria's four refineries to the private sector. It's been 2 years since, and within these 2 years, I can tell you that some of the refineries would have fully come back into operation, and by now Nigeria will be getting cheaper petrol prices at the pump. That has not happened. He has left the refineries in the hands of the NNPCL, who are playing games with us. So this is the kind of thing that I'm talking about.
An improvement in terms of the minimum wage that has been moved from 30,000 to 70,000 naira. I think that's a plus for the government. Also, the government have come up with an economic blueprint in terms of its growth strategy, in terms of the student loan projects that have been initiated. And just to mention but a few that the president has done even in terms of the judicial officer order salaries and allowance that has also been improved upon. Now, all of these indices shows that the president should or is in the right direction, or don't you think so?
Okay, so let's talk about the three that you have put on the table. For minimum wage, I am very sure that many workers, majority of workers in Nigeria, if you ask them now, do you want minimum wage at 70,000 and pay 2,000 naira to work every day? Or you want minimum wage at 30,000 where you were before and pay 200 naira to work? Majority of them, if not all of them, are going to tell you that please give me that 30,000 naira minimum wage and leave my transportation cost as it was before this current government came into being. That's what has happened. You will see that the increase in the minimum wage is not sufficient to deal with the increase in the cost that workers are now facing. How much was a bag of rice 2 years ago? How much is a bag of rice now? Right? How much was the drugs that people were taking 2 years ago? How much is the drugs now? And you know that in a family, most families, as we see today, when they wake up in the morning, the father is taking transportation to work, the mother is taking transportation to the market, the children are taking transportation to school, and that transportation has increased by more than 4 times. Whereas you just move minimum wage from 30,000 to 70,000. The choices are very difficult. And I like in Lagos, I hear now that there are people who are sleeping in the offices from Monday to Friday, because if they go home and come back every day, their salaries will not be enough to pay for their transportation cost and things like that. And then you have insecurity all over the country, banditry, kidnapping. If you have 70,000 naira minimum wage in your pocket, but you don't sleep with your two eyes closed, how does that benefit you? So, of course, insecurity didn't start with the current government, but it's been 2 years, and we are wondering what is the current government doing differently from the previous government. Then you mentioned the case of student loans. Yes, student loan is a good thing. Yeah, they did. That's a very good thing. It ensures that students who are indigent, they don't have money and all of that, can access higher education. So I give it to them on that one. I say it's fine, because, like you said, it's not everything that is bad. There are certain things that are good. This student loan thing, this particular one for student loan, is a good one. I'm trying to recall the third one you mentioned, but
Well, the third one I
uh,
mentioned is the judiciary improvements in judiciary salary across board.
okay, yes, of course, which is good. The salary package for judicial officers is a good one, but it's not just about giving them improved salaries. It's also about ensuring that they are justifying those salaries. The judiciary in Nigeria today is looking like the problem. Is looking like the real problem. The judiciary in Nigeria today, they are delivering judgments that are very difficult to believe, and they themselves are not able to explain some of the judgments that they are delivering. As it is said, the judiciary is meant to be the last hope of the common man. But if the judiciary is no longer siding with the common man, but they are no longer blind in giving their judgment, but they are looking at faces and delivering judgment based on who is involved in any case, then that's a problem. And it's a real problem in Nigeria. The judiciary needs to sanitize themselves, they need to cleanse themselves, and so that they can be thankful to us for the increase in their wages and emoluments.
Well, while you were speaking earlier, you mentioned the fact that a lot of Nigerians are yet to also feel the impact of the Bola Tinubu's economic policies, even at the grassroots, if I understood you well. But could this be that it is due to probably lack of awareness that a lot of Nigerians are not feeling the impact, the positive drive of the economic initiative of the Mr. President?
But so the point here is this: if you walk into a room that is hot, the room is really hot. You don't need anybody to tell you that you have walked into a room that is heating up. You feel it yourself. You can tell. You will start sweating. You see the evidence. And then on the contrast, if you walk into an air-conditioned room that is cool, you don't need anybody to tell you that you are now in a room that is air conditioned, is cool. You feel it yourself. You know it yourself. You can attest to it, because it is an experience that you are undergoing. So the government doesn't need to tell us that things are getting better. Why? We were buying petrol. I have to repeat it again. We buy petrol at less than 200. We are now buying it at about 1,000. Is that an improvement? Is that what you would judge as an improvement? Do you understand? Even if the petrol comes down to 800, it is still above the 200 that we're buying. Yeah. And then number two, if something was imported, like for instance, a food item was imported, and dollar was 460 when it was being imported. Now dollar is 1,500, meaning that thing has tripled, if not quadrupled in price. Are you buying it cheaper now? Are you buying it cheaper? Has security improved? You know, banditry and all the criminality going on in Nigeria, has it improved? Have government people stop chopping our money? Are we seeing budgets really being implemented? In the communities where we live, is there any water project that they have started doing? We don't expect them to finish a water project in 2 years, but at least you will see the construction work for the water project now, and you hope that in a number of years you are going to have water in your community. How many megawatts of electricity has this government added to ensure that power supply, if at all has not already improved, will improve in due course? Are you aware of any major construction of a power project in Nigeria that will add something like 500 to 1,000 megawatts? Are you aware of anywhere? And can you run an economy without power? So it's not about just coming to say band A, band B. On the other hand, what is the government doing to improve the power supply? Because it is with more supply that the price will come down. It's a basic law of economics to say that the higher the supply, the lower the price. What's happening? Is there any contract that this government has awarded that would extend railway service in Nigeria? Because why I talk about railway? Railway is the means that takes workers to work very cheaply, cheaper and safer. Because on a typical day, if you see people on the road in cars and buses, one train can carry all of them, and they will just all of them join hands to pay petrol for that train. It will be far cheaper for them. As we speak today, the federal capital of Nigeria is connected by rail to only one state capital, and that is Kaduna. Has this government liberalized the sector, unbundled the sector, taking away this thing from the Nigerian Railway Corporation that can't offer anything, and invited the private sector? And we are now on our way to start connecting Nigeria's federal capital to the other 35 state capitals. Is there anything happening like that anywhere? You journalists can tell us if there's anything happening like that. you know so at the end of the day, you discover that we are still in the same place, even though on the demand side things are becoming more expensive. On the supply side, what is it? Who can tell us how their life is better now than it was 2 years ago? Maybe they can come to the studio and tell us how their lives are better.
At this point, Mr. Nick, we'll go for a short break, and when we come back, we'll still talk more, even looking at the fact that livelihood support, even across states, has improved. Reduction in revenue debt services ratio also has reduced from 97 to 68% as it stands right now. Job creation still stands at 2,400 jobs through 10 micro, small, and medium enterprises. Also, looking at some of the achievements of the president, we will want you to rate all of these after this short break. Let's get the full assessment from you. Please stay with us as the show continues in a moment. All right, welcome back. It's still being joined by Nick Agulea. We're talking about the economic policy of President Bola Tinubu in terms of how it has improved on the Nigerian economy. All right, so before we went on that break, I was trying to find out from you, Nick, looking at the livelihood support across different states, and also the reduction in debt services, and also job creation, about 240,000 jobs through and micro, small, and medium enterprises. All of this that has also added up to improve on the economy. With this touch of droplets of the economic impact, how will you assess all of this put together? Can we say that the President Bola Tinubu's administration has already surpassed its predecessors in terms of economic growth for the country?
First and foremost, let me take you on the debt service. You know that as we speak right now, Nigeria is sitting on a time bomb in terms of our budget. Nigeria made a budget of 30, was it 37 or 38, 39 trillion naira. And then the government now did a supplementary budget that took the budget to 54 trillion. But there's something that Nigerians may not have noticed. When the budget was hiked, jacked up to 54 trillion, the government didn't say how they will fund it. So you should know that that funding is going to come from that. That's number one. Number two, the budget is predicated on Nigeria producing 2 million barrels of crude oil. As we speak now, we have not produced 2 million barrels of crude oil and we are in the fourth month of the year. So that means less revenue than projected. Number three, the government projected that they are going to earn $75 per barrel of crude oil produced. As we speak now, oil is 60 something dollars. In fact, with Donald Trump's trade wars, oil went below $60, right? But it's now recovered to 60 something dollars, but it's not close to $70. Not to talk about 75. So you can see that the budget is in a financial crisis already. The quantity is like if you said, I'm going to sell 10 yams for 1,000 naira each, and therefore you are now expecting 10,000 as revenue. As of today, you are selling 6 yams. That's number one. Even if you are selling 6 yams at 1,000, it will be 6,000. It won't be up to your 10,000. But you are not only selling 6 yams, you are selling 6 yams at 500 naira, making your money to be 3,000 naira instead of the 10,000 you are expecting. That is what is happening to Nigeria now. And we are going to see either of two things. Number one is either they refuse to implement the budget. That means there's no money to implement the budget. So the budget will just be on paper, or they will have to go and borrow money to come and fund the budget. And if they borrow money to fund this budget, this debt service that you're talking about is going to be thrown into the water, right? Because there will be a lot more debt that will be borrowed, and a lot more will go to servicing of the debt. Let me tell you one thing. If this government had competent economic policy advisors, they should have told them that there is something you call foreign direct investment, and then there is something you call foreign portfolio investment. Foreign portfolio investment is that people bring in money, they buy our treasury bills and things like that, and we give them a humongous interest, and then when they want to take their money out, we pay them the interest, they take the money, convert it to dollar and leave. It's very injurious to our economy. This government should be pursuing foreign direct investment. Foreign direct investment is an investment where the investor comes to invest in the economy. I can give you a good example. Foreign direct investment is like MTN, Airtel, Glo, Nine Mobile. They didn't come to give Nigeria a loan. Rather, they brought their money and invested in telecoms infrastructure. And from that infrastructure, they are delivering telecom services to Nigerians and they are making money. So there's a win-win here. They are making money from their investment. Nigeria didn't have a loan on our balance sheet, but the investment that they have made has created jobs, has made us to be able to use telephone services freely. As you can see, telephone services are more readily available in Nigeria and cheaper than power supply. And why is that so? Because the power supply is still in the hands of government. And that is why we can't see electricity. Maybe your studio now, you are running on generator or solar or something, and then it's very expensive. So a government that wants to bring in development looks for foreign direct investment. They create the enabling environment for foreign direct investment to come in. Now, in Nigeria, this current government is not doing anything to bring in foreign direct investment. Power supply, they are still sitting on it. Railways, they are sitting on it. Domestic gas, they are sitting on it. Steel plants, they are sitting on it. They are sitting on everything. Telecoms is better now because the Obasanjo government decided that they were not sitting on it. So they opened the sector, and that is how the MTNs and the Airtels and co came in. What has this government done to do that? So that we are no longer talking about debt, right? The telecoms have invested over $100 billion in our economy, and it's not by debt. We're not talking about debt service. It's their money they brought in, they took the risk, they invested. What is this government doing to encourage people to invest in the steel sector, in the domestic gas sector, in the power supply sector, in agriculture, and all of that? Because that is where the real jobs will be created. It's not about the president, the first lady, and the first son going about Nigeria giving handouts to Nigerians. That's not what we need, right? Just get yourself out. If, for instance, the government got themselves out of the refineries and we have private sector take over the refineries, by now some of the refineries will already start producing petroleum products, which will then be cheaper, more readily available, and in direct competition with Dangote refinery. Because right now we're only left with Dangote refinery, whatever price it gives us, we have to take it. So you see, you have to have a government that is doing the real hard work. It's not by statistics. When you say you have created 240,000 jobs, where are they? 240,000 jobs is about probably like 8,000 jobs per state by the 36 states of Nigeria. How many people have got 8,000 jobs in their state as we speak today? Jobs in where? Which sector? Right? So it's not about paper. That's why I say this thing is not about telling us. Nigerians will feel it. Let's say, for instance, this government read the Riot Act to security agencies to say, if you don't drive the bandits out of the farms within X number of weeks or months, we are going to sack all of you and bring in new commanders and see if they can do it. And if bandits were driven away, government supported farmers with the machines, and agriculture is now booming in Nigeria. Agriculture will create millions of jobs. Millions. Imagine all of our lands are being cultivated now. Millions of jobs will be created. We'll not be talking about 200 and something thousand jobs that nobody has seen. When were they advertised? Can anybody point to an advertisement where government advertised for jobs and about 8,000 youths were employed through that advertisement process in any state? You see? So this one I say, if we can't feel it, then why? You don't need to tell us. We're Nigeria, we're in Nigeria. We have to feel it. If you have to tell us what we should be feeling, then there's a problem. If I'm in a room that is air conditioned and I have to wait on someone to tell me this room is cool, then there's a problem. As you agree with me.
Well, Nick, so putting it on a comparative scale right now, you think that the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration has not performed beyond expectation in terms of its 2 years economic impact and blueprint?
If I want to rate the current government, I'll give them a failure, a failed mark. You know why? To build an economy, there are certain pillars to build an economy. Number one, the most important ingredient for any economy is power supply. If you don't give power supply to an economy, it's the same as not giving blood to a human body. And you expect the body to thrive? The body isn't going to thrive. We have small nations like Qatar. Do you know that the population of Qatar is 3 million? Do you know their power supply is 8,000 megawatts? 8,000 megawatts for 3 million people. Nigeria is more than 200 million people. We're talking 5,000 megawatts. So 200 million people are having to depend on power supply that is less than that which 3 million people are getting. Is that not a joke? Right? And as we speak today, the gas is flaring in the Niger Delta. Have you heard this government since they came into power talk about how they can switch off the gas flares and then harness that gas into uses like power generation? You have to fundamentally deal with an economy. An economy is not about going about distributing handouts. There are fundamentals to an economy. Number one, I talked about power supply. Number two, you talk about agriculture. Number three, you talk about rail. Number four, you talk about steel. Do you know the importance of steel? That Nigeria is not doing any steel now means anything that has to do with iron or metal is imported. Because we don't have any steel at all. We don't have any steel plant that is working. Imagine the kind of machinery, even in the studio where you're sitting there. Look at your cameras. Look at the air conditioner. Look at even the building materials. Look at the cars. Look at everything in Nigeria. The steel must be imported because we're not producing it in Nigeria yet. We have complexes like Ajakuta Steel, Alaja Delta Steel, the steel plants all over Nigeria. A government that is ready for development, those are the kind of places they will go. Within the first 3 months that they are in office, they will do something about the steel plants. They will do something about power. They will do something about rail. They will do something about agriculture. They will do something about domestic gas. Those are the pillars of an economy. And if you are not doing those things, but instead you are saying, oh, we are doing debt service, we are doing, look, if you boost the economy and Nigeria begins to generate its own money, nobody is going to talk about debt again because we will have enough money to go around. So debt service should not be a criteria to assess yourselves as a government. Instead, you should be saying, what have I done to boost the economy? I have debt with the refineries. I have debt with the steel plants. We don't expect all of them to just come up on stream within 2 years, but at least work would have started now. If work has started on those projects, you will now know that it's only a matter of time. They will come on stream and Nigeria will be better. So I don't think this government has started to touch on the fundamentals of an economy. They are dealing with the periphery, right? If they need to go back to the drawing board and do the hard work. If the president calls a meeting of the oil sector in his office and say, look, Nigeria produced 2.5 million barrels of crude oil before. Now we are doing 1.3, 1.5, 1.8. Tell me, as your president, what do I need to do for us to get back to that 2.5 million because we have the infrastructure to produce it? By now, what could be going on to boost our oil supply, oil output to about 2.5 million? And then the government will now say, what else do I need to do so that we can take it to 5 million? And you would have seen work that has started to getting us to 5 million. If we get to 5 million barrels of crude oil per day, Nigeria will be awash with dollars. And nobody will be talking about debt again. So the fundamentals, this economy has no economy management. They have no economy management because even now, I'll tell you one other thing that will be very shocking to our viewers. There is no coordination of the economy because economic management has two lungs. One is monetary policy, the other is fiscal policy. Monetary policy is spearheaded by the Central Bank of Nigeria, while the fiscal policy is spearheaded by the Federal Ministry of Finance. As we speak today, the central bank's push is to mop up liquidity from the economy. So they take money, they are mopping up money from the system, while the fiscal policy, Federal Ministry of Finance, is increasing money supply to the economy. So basically, think about a scenario like this. The Minister of Finance is in a room. He holds a pipe that is pushing water into a room. The central bank governor is at the other end of the room. He's packing the water out of the room. This is what these two policies have been doing for the past 2 years. Minister of Finance pumping water into the room. Central bank governor mopping the water out of the room. What are they doing? Are we going to make progress if that kind of thing is happening? Answer is absolutely zero. We are not going to make progress, and that is where we are. And Mr. President, I don't know if he even knows what is happening in the country, because if he knows, he should call these two managers of the economy and say, okay, you guys are working across purposes. This man is pumping liquidity in the system. You are mopping up liquidity. What does that mean? It's either you mop up liquidity or you pump in liquidity, both of you, so that we can know we have an impact. And to say that you can see the inflation, inflation was rising, then they did mathematics and say rebasing brought down the inflation to 23%. The last inflation now has gone up to 24% again. You know why? You are trying to heal a body, but you are refusing to deal with the cause of the illness. You're only dealing with the symptom. Like the man is saying, I have a headache, I have a headache. And you are just dealing with the headache. You don't know that the man's headache is coming from hunger, right? He hasn't got food in his stomach. Until you go and deal with the hunger, you can continue to cure that headache, but the headache will not finish. This is what is happening in Nigeria. Everything It's not working. There's no coordination. The Minister of Finance has a title to his name that say Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy. What coordination is he doing when he's pumping liquidity into the economy and the central bank, which is the other half, is mopping up liquidity from the economy? So these are the questions, right? And this is why things have remained where
Nick,
they are.
I got this signal right that it's time for us to go. But before I let you go, in a scale of 1 to 100, where do you think Nigeria is right now in terms of economic growth?
1 to 100, I put Nigeria on 20.
At 90?
20. 20.
Oh, you're putting us at 20?
Yes.
Well, that's not a pass mark, Nick.
I already said it. I already said it that this government has failed in terms of economy. They have failed because the pillars of the economy, they haven't started doing anything about them.
Well, that's a good way to say thank you so much, Nick, for finding out time to be with us today, even on Global Morning.
Thank you so much for having me. A nice day to our viewers.
All right, we'll go for another break, and when we come back, we'll still talk more on the show. Please stay with us as the conversation still continues here on Global Morning.